Right, hello everyone. We're outside of the constituency today. We're just in neighbouring Worsley and Eccles South. I'm here with Darren Goulden, who is a core party councillor. You previously stood as an independent, didn't you, Darren? And then
until we got the party registered. Yeah.
And then actually won his seat in May this year. So just here to ask him a few questions and about the community here and their priorities and stuff. So, Darren, what made you decide to get into local politics and run for councillor?
To be honest, it's quite a funny story. I mean, I organised Earlham Live. I was asked to do a 30-minute pitch, if you like, to a community committee meeting, and I sat there afterwards, and then I just watched how the local folk were being bullied, not listened to, ignored, talked over. Very, very complacent Labour Party, and then I decided. Even when I was at school, I got bullied as a kid. Hate bullies, and I just thought to myself, I'll come to the next meeting. Then we found out about the 1,600 homes, Salford local plan, GMSF, and then somebody had to stand up and do something.
So tell us a bit about the houses on the Moss and kind of how that campaign has been, because it's been really important, obviously, to you in this community.
It's been massive, to be honest. Myself and Dave Pike sat there one day wondering the best way to let people know. So we started a Facebook page called Planning for Our Future, and we thought we might get a few hundred people on it. Within a couple of weeks we had like 4,000 people. It was big news. We then went away and we tried to get as much information as we could on the planning, everything about it really, because obviously knowledge is power. And we found out that 1,600, or it was actually more at the time, 2,250 homes were planned to be built. They were going to pinch some green belt. It was the 6 Labour councillors in Earlham that were given the thumbs up to do it, and we just couldn't stand there and let it be done, if I'm honest.
Okay.
So we formed CORE, if you like. So we're on the Planning for Our Future page. We formed CORE, and then I got challenged once, and somebody said, right, okay, you let everybody know about it. We had these mass meetings where 300 and 400 people had turned up. Everybody knew about it. So we decided, somebody said to me, right, what are you going to do? You're going to put up or shut up? Mm-hmm. And I just said, you know what? I'd been thinking about it for a while, maybe 18 months, and I said, yeah. The local people are just not being listened to. They're being completely ignored. Very, very safe Labour seats. Let's shake it up and let's see what we can do.
Okay. So there'll be people who obviously say across Salford we need more housing, and that's a big priority. So for you, what were the kind of things that struck out as that this wasn't appropriate for the area?
Huge for us, really. First of all, the pits, grade A1 arable land. That's impossible to get to and impossible to build on. So you'd have thought the alarm bells might have started ringing there. But then I seen how hard they were trying to do it, and to me that was, I don't know whether it was going to be collusion, I don't know, but there was something not right about it. They were trying too hard, pushing too hard, and we've just had notification there's 25 houses being built within about 500 yards of the site where they plan to build the 1,600. Right. And the remediation fees there are huge, like £500,000. It works out like, I don't know what it was, 25.
So that's the fees to actually build the house?
Yeah, that's the fees to dig down, to pile the land. We've sat with the residents that are right on the border on Zinnia Drive and places. And you're looking at, like, just over the last few weeks, we've looked out the window and it's flooded. It's underwater. This is peat-based soil. It's fantastic growing land. And when people say, well, there's been no crops on it, well, to be honest with you, they've been paid by Europe not to grow crops. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? So the land's fantastic. A lot of it grows it's topsoil, and it does turf, which again needs top quality, soil. So massive problem for the area. Mm-hmm. Traffic is already a nightmare, and like I say, air pollution is a huge one. Yeah. They're so contradictory, this clean air that they want to do, then in the next minute they want to smash 1,600 homes up the Moss. This is a 15-year development. Mm-hmm. This is contractors' trucks going up and down roads that are not fit for cars as we speak. Yeah. And then going on and on and on, and we know the problem we've got is the 1,600 homes. There's no hard border. to the development. So where there's supposed to be a river or a motorway that stops you encroaching, it's a little footpath. It's the Salford Trail.
Yeah.
So we know the second that this happens, if they get this through, that they're going to because in 5 years' time we need some more. And we know we're going to lose it all the way up to the motorway. So I've heard people say, well, they built in the '60s, on the bird estate. I grew up on the bird estate. I'm proud of growing up on the bird estate, but they didn't know then, and there was a lot more land out there then. And I think everybody's a bit more savvy about it now. Everybody realises, what we need to do. And it's just time that somebody put a stop to it, and hopefully in the May elections with the all-outs next year, hopefully that's the thing we can do.
And how do you reconcile this plan to build 1,600 houses on peat land, which is really good at storing CO2, I believe, and it has an important role to play in fighting climate change? How do you reconcile that with Labour's commitments that they've said that this is a green revolution and that Labour's here to fight climate change?
Massively contradictory. As you say, it's the lungs of Salford, and I've heard other people now pinch that phrase. The reason it's the lungs of Salford is because it's peat, and there's only tiny percentage of peat within the Greater Manchester area.
Yeah.
So when I hear people say, the trees and the grasses are lungs, that's not right. That's not right. The peat is carbon storage, so and peat takes hundreds of thousands of years. And basically, if you remove the peat, the problem we've got is the 1,600 homes are being proposed within about half a mile of what used to be the old peat works, where Lancashire Wildlife Trust are trying to rebuild that. It looks like a desolate, puddle-ridden desert at the moment.
Yeah.
But they're spending millions of pounds, bringing wildlife back, sorting it all out, getting the drainage done and rebuilding it. And yet, within half a mile, you'd have to drive past these houses to get to Lancashire Wildlife Trust, which I think is so contradictory all the time. So the peat stores the carbon. So if you decide, and we found out that the size of the build was 700,000 square metres. They've done test drilling on there. We know 5-10 metres, probably 10 metres is you'd have to dig down. So 30 feet, 35 feet. It's 7 million or 70 million. It's a lot it's a lot of square metres of peat that you take up. That then. Obviously, what that does then, that releases all that carbon that was in there.
Stored.
It releases it into the air, and then there's nowhere for it to go afterwards. There's no carbon storage, available anymore, and it's so important. But when they're running a policy where it's clean air policy and stuff like that, and this climate crisis, they're just so contradictory. It's only a climate crisis when they decide it helps politically. It's wrong. It's really wrong.
And just one last point, you mentioned about sort of bullying and mistreatment by the local community. Do you think that's a particular problem in Salford Labour, or is that, where does that come from? Do you see that as a kind of trend? Yeah,
I've seen it now firsthand. I've worked with Core now and friends in Cadishead for the last sort of 3 or 4 years. We've all been personally attacked. It's endemic within the Labour Party. We just don't see a light at the end of the tunnel for them. This very, very strange thing, this momentum, this youth brigade that's coming along. These people have got no life skills. They're 20, 21 years old. They've no children. They can't drive. They've not got what the local residents need. You need somebody that's been there, done that. That works in the local area. They may well do a really good job answering emails and stuff like that, and technology wise they might have an advantage. But the point is, you're supposed to live within your local constituents and help them out. And like I say, we've had Facebook rants from different people and stuff like that, and it's just they really are showing the inexperience, and I think they've never been challenged like this before. We try and make sure that we never ask a question that we don't know the answer to. It's just the basics, really. But I think honesty always prevails. Like you say, if you're trying to get constituents in a room, I'd sit there with the likes of Roger Jones and Tracy Kelly, the two Walshes and Lewis Nelson. I'd sit there in a room and I'd ask honest questions. And people would get honest answers from me. What you would get from the other 5 is politicians' answers. They go around the houses like a teddy bear. You'd never get what you're looking for. So we always promised, absolutely. You know, the reason that I got voted in was because I do it. I just go out and I get it done. You know, it doesn't seem to be. You know, if it's a massive project, then we'll do it step by step, small little hurdles, but nothing's too big. And what I have learned over the last few months is you can help so many people with other contacts that you've got. When you have the little email address, Councillor Goulden. Yeah. It works out really well because you get answers back in 5 minutes. You're not waiting 2 weeks. Yeah. You're not waiting for Miriam, you know, to reply to you via solicitors. You get all the answers. So if it's a planning problem, or if it's a problem in the NHS, or it's a problem in social worker side or housing, you know, you can solve it within minutes. It's really good.
Cool. So this is the start of a series of interviews I'm going to be doing across Salford. We're obviously outside of the constituency that I'm running for at the moment, but the reason I'm down here is because this is something really important. Your campaign, particularly to save the mossland, is something that will affect the whole of Salford, and the houses that are planned will obviously have traffic impacts and air pollution impacts for the whole city. So really support your cause. I think it's really important. So thank you. Thanks for coming along.
Cheers. Thanks, Bryan.
Cheers.
Thank you.